Close your eyes for a moment and take a deep breath in. Hold it. Now slowly exhale. Feel that? That breath is more than just air. It is the very essence of life itself. It is the bridge between your physical self and the unseen power that shapes your reality. Most people breathe unconsciously, unaware that with each inhale they have the power to align with their highest vision, and with each exhale they can release the limitations that hold them back. The breath is the doorway to transformation, the secret to shifting your state of being and stepping into a higher consciousness where anything is possible. But here's what they don't tell you. The way you breathe determines the way you live. If you can control your breath, you can control your mind. And if you can control your mind, you can control your world. Tonight, I invite you to journey beyond the ordinary and step into the extraordinary. With each breath, you will come closer to the truth that you are the creator of your own reality. And by breathing in a certain way, you can connect to higher consciousness and shift your life in ways you never imagined. The breath is more than just a biological function. It is the silent link between the visible and the invisible, between the conscious mind and the infinite realm of creation. It is the first thing we do when we enter this world and the last thing we do before we leave. Yet most people go through life unaware of its true power. They inhale and exhale mechanically, never realizing that within this simple rhythm lies the key to transformation. When you take a breath, you are not merely drawing in oxygen, you are absorbing life itself, the very essence of existence. Every inhale fills you with the energy that fuels all creation, and every exhale releases what no longer serves you. This exchange is happening constantly, whether you pay attention to it or not, but the moment you become conscious of it, everything changes. Think of the breath as a bridge, connecting your present reality to the limitless possibilities of the unseen world. In the same way that a bridge allows you to move from one place to another, your breath allows you to shift from one state of consciousness to another. When you breathe in deeply and with intention, you step into a higher vibrational state, one where clarity, inspiration, and alignment with your deepest desires become effortless. But when your breath is shallow, rushed, or neglected, you remain bound to a limited perspective, one of stress, doubt, and disconnection. Ancient teachings have long understood the power of the breath. In sacred traditions across the world, breathwork has been used to achieve heightened states of awareness, to awaken dormant potential, and to access the realms beyond the physical. It has been said that the breath carries the divine essence of creation itself, and when used correctly, it can dissolve the illusion of separation between you and the infinite intelligence that governs all things. Each breath is an opportunity, a moment of creation in its purest form. When you inhale with purpose, you are literally breathing in new life, filling yourself with the energy of transformation. With each exhale, you are surrendering, letting go of old patterns, limiting beliefs, and the weight of past conditioning. This constant exchange, when done with awareness, becomes the foundation for true personal evolution. But the breath is more than just a means of survival. It is an instrument of power, a tool that allows you to take control of your internal state at any moment. It is impossible to feel anxious, fearful, or lost when your breath is deep, slow, and intentional. The breath recalibrates the mind, bringing it back to the present, back to the now, the only place where true creation happens. Consider this. Every great transformation begins with a shift in state, and every shift in state begins with the breath. When you become conscious of how you breathe, you gain access to a realm beyond thought, beyond limitation, beyond the distractions of the external world. You begin to see that your breath is not separate from your mind, your body, or your spirit. It is the golden thread that weaves them all together. Through breath, you communicate with the unseen. Through breath, you access the power that shapes reality. Through breath, you become the architect of your own experience. Everything you experience in life is a direct reflection of your awareness. The thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, and the world you perceive are all shaped by the state of your consciousness. Yet, most people drift through life unaware of the power they hold, allowing external circumstances to dictate their inner world. They react instead of create, believing themselves to be at the mercy of events, unaware that it is their own awareness that molds those very events into form. To understand how awareness shapes reality, one must first recognize that reality itself is not fixed. It is fluid, constantly shifting and responding to the inner state of the observer. The mind, like a projector, casts its internal images onto the external screen of life. What you hold within, your dominant thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, determines the nature of your experiences. When you shift your awareness, the world must shift accordingly, because the world is nothing more than a mirror reflecting back the state of your being. Many believe that change must first occur in the outer world before they can feel different within. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how reality works. The outer world is not separate from you. It is a reflection of you. When you hold on to doubt, fear, or limitation in your awareness, you will inevitably see those same patterns playing out in your life. But when you elevate your consciousness, when you choose to dwell in the feeling of abundance, peace, or fulfillment, your external world will begin to reshape itself to match that internal state. Think of awareness as a sculptor. Every thought, every breath, every moment of focused attention is like the movement of a sculptor's hands, shaping and refining the clay of reality. If you are unaware of this process, the shaping occurs haphazardly, influenced by past conditioning, unconscious fears, and external influences. But when you take control of your awareness, you become deliberate in your creation. You choose what you allow into your mind, and in doing so, you determine what takes shape in your world. Breath is the key that unlocks this awareness. It is impossible to be unconscious of your reality while consciously breathing. The moment you bring your attention to your breath, you enter the present moment, the now, the only place where creation truly occurs. Most people live trapped in the past or anxiously anticipating the future, never realizing that all power resides in this single moment. When you breathe deeply, you pull yourself into full awareness, awakening from the illusions that have kept you bound. In this state of awareness, you begin to notice the patterns of your thoughts. You see the repetitive cycles, the habitual narratives that have shaped your life. And once you see them, you gain the power to change them. No longer are you a passive participant in the story of your life. You become the author. You can rewrite the script, choose a new reality, and watch as the world bends to reflect your internal shift. The breath acts as a gateway to higher states of consciousness. Each inhale draws in the energy of transformation, and each exhale releases what no longer serves you. This rhythmic process aligns your mind with the deeper truth that you are not separate from the universe. You are the very force that brings it into being. When you become fully present, fully aware, you dissolve the illusion of limitation. You recognize that your external circumstances are not fixed barriers, but malleable reflections of your internal world. Most people remain trapped in cycles of struggle because they attempt to change the mirror instead of changing the image it reflects. They chase after external solutions, seeking validation, wealth, success, or love, believing that these things will bring them the internal peace they desire. But they fail to see that it is their internal state that must shift first. Reality is not something to be fought against or resisted. It is something to be understood and consciously directed. When you master your awareness, you master your reality. You become attuned to the subtle shifts in your energy, noticing how even the slightest change in thought affects the way life unfolds around you. You begin to experience synchronicities, effortless manifestations, and a profound sense of connection to the deeper intelligence that governs all things. You realize that life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Imagination is the creative force behind all that you experience, the silent architect shaping the contours of your reality. It is not a passive function of the mind, but an active tool that molds the unseen into the seen, the formless into the formed. Yet, imagination alone is not enough to bring about transformation. It must be paired with the vital force that animates all things, the breath. Breath and imagination are inseparable, though few recognize their intimate connection. Breath is the bridge between the physical and the non-physical, the seen and the unseen. It is the rhythm of life itself, an eternal ebb and flow that mirrors the cycle of creation. Every inhale draws in possibility, and every exhale releases what no longer aligns. When this rhythm is consciously directed, it becomes the perfect companion to imagination, amplifying its power and bringing forth the unseen world into tangible experience. The untrained mind is scattered, restless, and chaotic, constantly drifting from one thought to another without direction. When this kind of mind attempts to imagine a new reality, it struggles to hold the vision long enough for it to take root. Distractions, doubts, and habitual patterns of thinking interfere, dissolving the image before it has a chance to manifest. But when the breath is controlled, when it becomes slow, deep, and rhythmic, it acts as a stabilizing force, quieting the turbulence of the mind and allowing imagination to take center stage. With each conscious breath, the body relaxes, and the mind opens to deeper levels of awareness. This state of deep presence is the fertile ground where imagination flourishes. In ordinary states of consciousness, the mind is tethered to the limitations of the five senses, confined to the familiar and the predictable. But when the breath slows, awareness expands and the mind is freed from these constraints. It enters a space where the impossible becomes possible, where new realities can be formed and sustained with clarity. Consider the way the body reacts to different states of mind. When fear grips the mind, the breath becomes shallow and rapid, reinforcing the feeling of anxiety. When one is calm and at peace, the breath is deep and unhurried, mirroring the internal state of ease. The body and mind are not separate. They respond to each other in perfect harmony. This is why breathwork is a gateway to higher states of imagination. When the breath is intentionally directed, it sends signals to the subconscious mind, commanding it to align with the imagined reality. Every great shift in consciousness, every profound transformation, begins with a change in inner vision. And this vision is strengthened, anchored, and brought to life through the breath. If the breath is erratic, the vision remains weak. But if the breath is controlled, the vision gains power, weaving itself into the very fabric of existence. This is why those who understand this connection use breathwork to deepen their ability to visualize, to feel, and to embody the reality they wish to experience. Breathing in a deliberate, rhythmic way allows the body to act as a conduit for the new reality being imagined. With each inhale, one absorbs the essence of the desired state, breathing in the feeling of already having it. With each exhale, all resistance, doubt, and disbelief are released, making space for the new reality to take hold. This process is not merely symbolic, it is a direct communication with the subconscious mind, instructing it to accept the imagined state as real. In ancient traditions, breath has always been linked to the creative force of the universe. It is no coincidence that many spiritual teachings speak of breath as the very essence of life, the divine energy that animates all things. The breath is more than just air. It is the carrier of intention, the messenger of imagination. When one breathes consciously while holding a vivid mental image, they are quite literally breathing life into that vision, feeding it with the energy required to bring it into manifestation. The breath acts as an anchor, preventing the mind from drifting into doubt or distraction. It keeps awareness rooted in the present moment, where all creation occurs. Many struggle to manifest their desires because they are only briefly aware of them before returning to old patterns of thought. They may imagine for a moment, but without a strong foundation, the vision dissolves before it has time to take effect. But when imagination is fused with breath, it gains a solidity that cannot be easily shaken. It moves from a fleeting thought to an embodied experience, a shift that the subconscious mind immediately recognizes as real. The power of breath extends beyond calming the mind. It influences the very vibrational frequency of the body. Every emotion, every thought carries a unique energetic signature. When one breathes in alignment with their imagined reality, they are tuning their body to that frequency, adjusting their entire being to match the state of what they wish to experience. This is why breathwork is so often used in meditative and transformative practices. It is the key to embodying a new state of consciousness, not just thinking about it. When the breath is used properly, it dissolves resistance. Resistance is what keeps people stuck in their current state. Doubt, fear, and limiting beliefs act as barriers between the present reality and the one they wish to create. But breath, when paired with imagination, bypasses these barriers. It sends a direct signal to the nervous system, telling the body that the imagined state is already real. The subconscious does not differentiate between what is experienced in the physical world and what is vividly imagined. It only responds to the state being embodied. By consciously breathing in alignment with an imagined state, one steps beyond the limitations of the current reality. They enter a space where creation is effortless, where what is held in mind and felt in the body must inevitably be reflected in the external world. This is not wishful thinking. It is a fundamental law of creation. The breath is the tool that allows the mind to hold the vision long enough for it to become real. When the breath is mastered, the imagination is free to construct the life that was always meant to be lived. Everything in existence moves to a rhythm. The sun rises and sets in perfect harmony, the tides ebb and flow in a ceaseless dance, and the seasons change in an unbroken cycle of renewal. The very fabric of reality pulses with a silent, unseen rhythm, a force that governs all of creation, yet few recognize that this same principle applies to their own breath, their own thoughts, and ultimately, the reality they experience. Rhythm is the secret key to alignment. When one is out of sync with the natural flow, life feels chaotic, unpredictable, and difficult. But when one attunes themselves to the deeper rhythm that governs existence, everything begins to move effortlessly. Opportunities unfold in perfect sequence. Actions flow without resistance. And reality bends to match the state of inner harmony. Breathing is not merely an unconscious act of survival. It is the most fundamental rhythm of life. Each inhale and exhale form a continuous cycle, a perfect pattern that sustains existence. Yet most people breathe in a disordered, erratic manner, unaware of how their breath dictates their internal and external reality. A shallow, inconsistent breath creates a scattered mind, a restless spirit, and a body filled with tension. But when the breath follows a steady, deliberate rhythm, it brings order to the chaos, aligning the individual with the deeper pulse of creation. Consider the way music affects the mind. A steady, calming rhythm induces relaxation, while a chaotic or irregular beat creates discomfort and anxiety. The body instinctively responds to rhythm, whether one is aware of it or not. This is why drumming has been used in ancient traditions to induce trance states, why heartbeats synchronize between lovers, and why a baby is soothed by the rocking motion of its mother. Rhythm speaks to something deeper than words. It communicates directly with the subconscious, bypassing thought and connecting with the very essence of existence. Just as music influences mood and emotion, so too does the rhythm of breath dictate one's internal state. A hurried, disordered breath sends signals of distress to the nervous system, triggering states of fear, stress, and survival. But when the breath is slow, deep, and rhythmic, it signals safety, peace, and balance. This shift is not merely psychological. It has a direct physiological effect, influencing heart rate, brain waves, and even the way energy flows through the body. The breath is the conductor of the body's symphony. When it follows a harmonious rhythm, the mind quiets, the emotions settle, and the entire being moves into a state of coherence. In this state, one becomes receptive to inspiration, intuition, and higher awareness. The mind no longer jumps chaotically from one thought to another. It becomes still, allowing for deeper levels of clarity and understanding. There is a reason why certain breathing techniques have been passed down through ancient wisdom traditions for thousands of years. These techniques were not created randomly. They are based on the recognition that the body operates best when attuned to specific rhythms. Some traditions teach breath cycles of 4 counts in, 4 counts out. Others emphasize longer exhales to activate relaxation responses. Regardless of the method, the principle remains the same. When the breath is controlled, reality is controlled. Beyond the breath, rhythm governs all aspects of creation. Every action, every thought, every emotional state follows a pattern. Those who experience struggle often do so because they are caught in destructive rhythms, patterns of thought, behavior, and reaction that perpetuate unwanted circumstances. They may not realize it, but they are locked in an unconscious cycle, repeating the same internal states that produce the same external results. Breaking free from these cycles requires a conscious shift in rhythm. Just as one can change the tempo of their breath to alter their emotional state, they can change the rhythm of their thoughts to alter their reality. This is why rituals, affirmations, and consistent mental practices are so powerful. They introduce new rhythms into the subconscious, replacing disorder with harmony. Life itself responds to rhythm. The flow of abundance, success, and well-being moves in cycles, just as nature does. When one aligns with these rhythms, through breath, thought, and action, resistance disappears. The struggle is not in acquiring what is desired, but in removing the disruptions that block the natural flow. Rhythm is the language of the universe, the silent force that governs all things. When one masters the rhythm of breath, they master the rhythm of thought. When they master the rhythm of thought, they master the rhythm of action. And when action moves in harmony with universal rhythm, reality itself must follow. In a world filled with distractions, where thoughts are constantly racing between past regrets and future anxieties, the greatest power often goes unnoticed, the power of presence. Presence is not simply being physically somewhere. It is a deep and unwavering awareness of the present moment. The ability to fully inhabit the now. It is the key that unlocks the door to clarity, transformation, and mastery over reality. Most people live in a state of unconsciousness, unaware that they are rarely present. Their minds are occupied with memories of what has been or fears of what may come. They replay old conversations, anticipate future events, and mentally dwell in places that do not exist outside their own imagination. In doing so, they rob themselves of the only moment that holds true power, the present. The present moment is the space where all creation occurs. It is the only point of access to reality. The past exists only as a memory, a collection of thoughts stored in the mind. The future exists only as an imagined projection, a set of possibilities shaped by present awareness. Yet despite this truth, most people live as if they are prisoners of time, believing that they are bound by what has already happened or what they fear will happen. Presence is the key to freedom. When one becomes fully present, they step outside the cycle of repetitive thought patterns that keep them stuck in the same experiences. They no longer react based on past conditioning, nor do they create from a place of fear. Instead, they access a space of pure potential, where new realities can be formed with conscious intent. The breath is the most direct pathway to presence. The act of breathing is always happening in the now. It cannot occur in the past or the future. This is why conscious breathing immediately pulls awareness into the present. A deep inhale, followed by a slow exhale, interrupts the mind's tendency to wander, anchoring it back to the body, back to the moment, where true creation takes place. When one is fully present, everything shifts. The mind quiets, no longer preoccupied with unnecessary noise. The body relaxes, no longer held in a state of tension by unconscious worries. Actions become deliberate, not rushed by urgency or tainted by hesitation. In this state, clarity emerges. Decisions become effortless, intuition becomes sharper, and a sense of deep inner peace takes hold. Presence is not simply a state of awareness. It is a state of power. It is the only state in which one can truly create, because creation cannot happen in a time that does not exist. Those who understand this truth do not waste energy dwelling on what was or worrying about what could be. They focus entirely on what is. From this space, they are able to shape their reality with precision because they are fully engaged with the moment at hand. Many people search for fulfillment in external achievements, believing that happiness exists somewhere in the future. They tell themselves that once they attain a certain goal, acquire a specific possession, or reach a desired status, then they will finally feel complete. But they fail to see that the very act of postponing happiness keeps it forever out of reach. The mind that says, "I will be happy when," is the same mind that will always find another condition to place upon happiness. The only way to experience true fulfillment is to recognize that it already exists, here and now, within the present moment. The illusion of time is one of the greatest barriers to presence. People believe they are moving through time, but in truth, time is moving through them. The past is nothing more than a memory playing in the mind, and the future is nothing more than an imagined sequence of possibilities. Yet the mind remains addicted to these illusions, constantly seeking meaning in what was or control over what will be. But neither the past nor the future holds any real power, only the present moment does. When presence is mastered, suffering dissolves. The mind no longer clings to past wounds, nor does it create suffering by anticipating negative outcomes. Instead, it becomes fully absorbed in what is happening now. In this state, even the simplest experiences take on a richness that was previously unnoticed. A breath of fresh air becomes invigorating, the warmth of the sun becomes energizing, and the sound of rustling leaves becomes a symphony. The world does not change, awareness does. Presence is also the key to deepening relationships. When one is fully present with another, there is no room for pretense, no need for masks or artificial interactions. The connection becomes real, because attention is no longer divided between the present and an internal dialogue. Most conversations are not truly conversations. They are merely exchanges of words while each person waits for their turn to speak. But when one listens with full presence, without waiting to respond, without filtering the words through personal biases, a profound transformation occurs. The connection becomes authentic, the understanding becomes deeper, and the interaction takes on an entirely new level of meaning. Presence is also the foundation of mastery. Whether in art, music, sports, or any skill, excellence is only achieved when the mind is fully immersed in the task at hand. A musician does not think about the next note, they become the music. An athlete does not think about the next move, they become the movement. A writer does not think about the next word, they become the flow of expression. When presence is absolute, effort disappears and action becomes effortless. Those who struggle with creativity often do so because they are not present. Their mind is either caught in self-doubt, wondering if what they create will be good enough, or it is lost in future outcomes, worrying about how their work will be received. But creativity cannot flourish in a divided mind. It requires complete absorption in the present, an openness to inspiration without interference. The greatest works of art, literature, and innovation have all emerged from states of deep presence, where the creator was so fully engaged that they lost all sense of time. In the same way, those who struggle with success are often trapped by thoughts of failure from the past or fears about the future. They hesitate, overthink, and analyze endlessly, preventing themselves from taking action. But action can only take place in the now. Those who succeed are those who act with full presence, who immerse themselves in the task at hand, without being weighed down by thoughts of what was or what will be.